your vigor in terms of anger or anguish, I don't think that's going to be benefiting anybody, neither just me from a health point of view. So I try to stay calm under the pressure and try to find a solution out of it. And perseverance is something that keeps driving me inch by inch, even if I'm like really, really vexed up with things, but still keep pushing myself every day.
Well, that's great, sir. So, for anybody to inculcate these qualities, there should be some sort of childhood experiences or the way that you were brought up that matters. So do you have anything that, that interested you as a child that made you, be over here, like the place where you are?
See, it's very important. Sometimes we fail to understand the family brought up that we actually come up across. As a kid, I've always been on a dining table where my father and my mom used to talk business all the time. आज इतना बड़ा problem हो गया, आज उतना नुकसान हो गया, आज इतना profit हो गया, and stuff like that. So we have been raised in a family where we always speak business throughout the day, and after business comes a question कि बेटा आज दिन कैसा था? That is a secondary question for my father. He had been very focused and persevering in terms of his ambitions, but that does not need to stop anybody from dreaming about being an entrepreneur. I'm not saying that only because you come from a family business you can be a good entrepreneur. Please, I'm not even advocating that statement here. I am just talking about the way I grew up. My parents were pretty into a business family, and many a times I keep saying this in college fest and speeches where I kept being called upon, that sometimes we tend to ignore the fact that family businesses, whether your dad or your mom is sitting in a kirana store, whether she is a cloth merchant, whether she's got a beauty salon or whatever, if she's been running it for 10s and 20s of years, she has got the fundamental right of running a business in profitability. And we tend to ignore that fact. We see things ki ye to bahut chota sa business hai, ye to koi bhi kar lega. Nahin, that's not the fact. The fact is that running family business is one of the most toughest things, and I think I respect now my father to what he was doing for last 3 decades. As a kid, probably I never realized that. So as a kid, I've always been brought up in this family, and I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, to be honest. Even today, I don't see myself going and working for someone. I might earn less today, make less money, but I'm at least proud of whatever I'm doing for myself. That's the way I'm.
Yep. So, well, that's a really great answer from sir. So, you spoke about family businesses and, what you've learned from that. So can you tell us any 1 or 2 experiences that you went through while you were building your family businesses that actually help you grow Skippy? So any 1, 2 powerful experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be very honest, I've been very bullish about saying that I've got family business values with me. Sometimes people think this to be a little downtrodden kind of a statement. But honestly, I'll tell you what, in today's era, the family business values are the most important thing that probably is not even taught in business schools. My fundamentals that my father taught me are still helping me run the show. First thing was credit nahi dene ka. My father was very clear about it. Business kam karo, lekin credit mat do, kyunki udhari jaise hi dete ho, you'll have to keep chasing the people around for even $500. And that was my principle from day one. I will grow slow. I will not even grow probably if required, but I'm not going to be chasing people for my own money. So I kept focusing on creating a policy around my business, which made me more sustainable. Today, we are 100% advance payment business. I mean, it sounds it sounds probably least important, but it is very important for you to work on your numbers, your capital, operating cash flows very much. So that is one value my father said. Second, my dad has always kept goodwill in more important than profitability. My dad says that the goodwill that you are creating in the market by being a genuine entrepreneur, by being a genuine businessman, will take you miles further even if you're not doing good. But if you screw up your goodwill in the market, then nothing is going to be actually helping you out. When times go bad, your goodwill actually will help you get funds from people, maybe investment from people, or even any kind of a credit line or any kind of a opportunity from people. But goodwill was very important for him. And more importantly, it was always, he always focused on one thing, that unit economics has to be very profitable. Whether you guys are talking about getting into a service industry, creating an IT platform, a tech platform, or you're getting into a product, or an F&B entrepreneur like myself, the unit economics is very important. At what cost am I acquiring a customer? Am I making profit out of it or not? At what cost am I giving this service? Am I making profitability at every cost or not? That is absolutely very important. People today tend to forget the basic principle of business, which is making profit. We are just talking about giving service, giving a solution for a problem that we think it is important. But everything to be sustainable, like how we talk about recycling a plastic today, making planet Earth very sustainable, business needs sustainability, and that can come only from profitability. So that is the unit economics that my father focused. Based on these three principles, I think I started off my business. And by God's grace, we are doing decently enough today.
Decently enough is a very small word over here. But then, yes, sir. So, so I'm asking very bluntly, so were there any mistakes that you've did in the past that, from which you had massive learnings and that you applied in Skippy right now?
Yeah, I think, see, firstly, to the audience, I am going to be very raw and blunt in whatever I say. I do not like to sugarcoat anything, because as a young student in your college, I believe that you should be guided in the right path. I don't want to glamorize everything and put you on a path and only later you realize ki yaar kya kar diya maine. So yes, coming to your question, absolutely, there were a lot of mistakes that I've done in the past. First of all, when I was in my father's business, we were into manufacturing of biscuits and exports of a lot of F&B products, right? One of the mistakes that I always did was I assumed that I was growing the business. I did not give the credit to my father, because say my father was doing X crores of business or X number of business. I made it to X square or X to the power of 3 or 4. But I always felt that it was me who was doing the entire thing. But I forgot the fact that the fundamental base of the business has been laid by my father. I was only growing on top of it. Like it's like laying down the foundation of an apartment and then adding 2 more extra floors on top of it. That 2 extra floors started to hit my head. I thought that I was doing amazing work there. But for every successful entrepreneur to grow, the fundamental base of a business is very, very important. Whether you're joining your dad's, your mother's business, your family business, or whether you're starting something of your own, the fundamental is very, very important. And apart from that, this thing what happened, I'll go a little in detail, is, based on that proud thought that I am building the business, I started something of my own, and unfortunately I crashed onto it. I literally burned a lot of money, made huge losses, and that is when I realized that it was not me who was building my business, but rather my father's business was getting built, and I was just contributing to it. So I've learned a lot of mistakes. One of the most important business ideas that I've learned is, do not scale up too fast. If you try and scale up too fast, the chances of you shaking across your path and crashing down is much more going to be higher. Probably look for a small growth, slow growth, but a strong growth. That is very important.
So, well, that is something that we all have to learn, to never scale as fast as possible, slow down, and also take your time. So now, sir, let's talk about Skippy. So how did the idea of Skippy come into your head? How did you plan on commoditizing a market, a multi-million-dollar market in the West, and how did you come up with the idea, and how did you do that?
Firstly, correction, it's a multi-billion-dollar market out there, not a million. So see, how many of you guys want to be an entrepreneur going forward? You have got some ideas that you're already thinking through, right? Awesome. So see, the good trait of an entrepreneur is that you will always keep looking for ideas. You will walk across the street and you will be like, hey, why don't I create this kind of an app? Why don't I create this kind of a tech product and stuff like that, right? Similar thing with me. I was living in Australia. I wanted to come back for personal reasons back to India. And like I said, I never enjoyed working for somebody else. Though I was working for somebody else in Australia, that's a different story. I wanted to come back and I was thinking of good ideas. I actually came across a lot of other ideas which were very profitable, very money-making kind of an idea. But a kick dorkaled naku. I didn't get that kick. And I wanted to have that kick. Excitement undali. Emana cheste, we have to be very, very excited about what we do. And I was sitting there like, thinking about ideas, and I'm sitting here in my living room. My sister, who had come down to live with us in Australia with her kids for summer, she started to pack some local ice popsicles in a suitcase. And I'm like, Didi, why are you even packing this? I'm sure you've got a lot of brands in India. And then she turns around and said, not even a single brand, Ravi, that I can trust for my kids. And as an entrepreneur, that is the opportunity which whispers in your ears. Sometimes the opportunity is sitting right next to you guys, but you guys are getting blinded. You want to have something better and better and bigger. In my case, that simple statement of my sister turned the entire story for me, and I started to think, it's such a simple product, it's such a wantable product, why is not somebody making it in a country like India? And I started to do my research, only to realize that a country like Australia, which is not so hot as India, UK, which is colder than India, summer in UK is about, I think, 18, 22 degrees, something like that. And then you've got Canada, US, which are having $1 billion ice popsicle industry, and a country with 1.4 billion people in India, hottest and humid, nobody wanted to do it. So somehow people ignored that idea, or it never occurred to them. And as an entrepreneur, this was the kick I wanted. This was the excitement I wanted. I jumped straight into it. And eventually Skippy was born. We started with a lot of ideas through what flavors we should get into, what are the pain points, what are the solutions that I can offer. And that is how step by step the conceptualization of Skippy happened in Australia itself. We moved back to India, and then that's how Skippy started.
Well, that's amazing. So I have a bit of a lengthy question, so I'm using my paper to read it out. How was the learning experience while building Skippy? From working in an Australian company to learning about FSS AI regulations and understanding the business of packaged foods, what kind of research did you do? And how did it feel to relive the student days of studying a huge market and then coming up with research and everything?
The most important point I'd like to say here is, I know a lot of people say it is good to be jack of all, but unfortunately for an entrepreneur, it is a king of one industry that matters the most. You cannot be a great chemist and then look at doing an MBA, then look at doing chartered accountancy, and then trying to figure out what in the hell do you want to do in your life. It doesn't work that way. Because if you have got into a segment which you love, of course, if you don't love a segment, please shift on to something that you love. But if you've got into something which you love, you need to give your 5, 10, 20 years of life in the same industry, in the same format. That is where you will get appreciated in the market. Imagine if I had 5 years of experience doing chartered accountancy with numbers, 5 years of experience where I was working for a construction company, and then 5 years of work of some other advocate or something. People would have thought me to be crazy. But the consistency, what we did was, I have got 17, 18 years of experience in the F&B space itself. Anuja, my co-founder, and my wife, she has got another 14 years of experience in the F&B space itself. So we have built our complete understanding and expertise in a particular industry. Today, if somebody comes and tells me, Ravi, can you build a fintech startup? I will tell you I'll be the biggest disaster in that, because that's not my expertise. I love the F&B space. I built myself on the F&B space, and that is why I could understand how to develop this category. So coming to your question, yes, this is how I think I realized that what are the standards of FSSI, or what are the basic standards, what are the pain points in the industry that I need to answer. So just to give a little depth understanding, when I was sitting in Australia, even before coming back to India, I knew that, first of all, India, if I start selling Skippy in a frozen format, I will never succeed. Because logistics in a cold storage is very expensive in India, very, very complex. So that was my first pain point that I had written down on a paper. Second, I had told hard as an ice cube, because then it will start hurting your teeth and the entire experience of enjoying Skippy will fade away. So that was my second point, that when consumers buy the ice pops and they bite on it, it should be soft and crunchy. Then the third point, I was observing that India had evolved into a consumer state which believes in natural, organic, healthy supplements and stuff like that. So that was our third pain point that we had written down, that it should not be anything synthetic or artificial which people are hesitant to consume. So that is what we met down. And then we talked about branding, because people love packaging and branding these days. So that is the fourth point. So this is how your 15 years of experience and expertise in particular domain will help you. If you are a tech geek, and if you believe that you are great at technology, stick to it if you love it. And you will realize that in the next 10 to 15 years, your value in the market will go exponentially high. You will see that if you're getting into an entrepreneurship, you will be able to find solutions like this, because you know what the problems are in the first place. So that's how I focus on being... In a personal life, I want to play all the sports, right? I'm not good in any sport. I'm good in average in all the sports.
And also, this is what Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, and Mr. Naval Ravikant also says, you have to play long-term games so that you can adapt and be better at what they do. So I have one more question that I wanted to ask you, sir. So can you tell us about any key business decisions that you have taken while building Skippy? Also, can you tell us how did you come up with those decisions? Did you use any mental models, or did you have anything in your head while you were going through the decision?
As a startup, one thing we all will always have common, we will never have funds. Let's agree to that, right? Father nunchi, mother nunchi oppu teeskoni, we have started something, and we'll always have that pain in our heart that we have to return back those funds. So funds has always been a problem there. But in terms of what I have learned, is that what your question is, right?
Exactly.
I think the first and the fundamental important thing, guys, whoever is starting off, please understand one thing. Do not start a startup with the hope of getting an investment. This is very, very, very important. Guys, please come out of the myth that investment is right standing outside the door for you. You will go there and you'll get it. You will not get it. 97% of the people who get into startups will never get funded. That is the statistics I'm talking about, okay? If you look at India, there are tens and thousands of startups coming every year. Today, Startup India, the website has got 87,000 startups registered. Let's understand that not 87,000 of them are getting funded. So first of all, the myth that investment is right next to you is a myth. Do not start a business because you are assuming investments will come to you. It will not. I have been to a lot of colleges where students believe that I've got an idea, I'll work on it and investment to mil jayega. Nahi milega, boss. It is one in hundreds of people who will get investment. Second important thing is whatever business you are getting into, like I said, think from a family business point of view. Get your fundamental process and procedures right. Think about profitability on day one, not after day 100. Because profitability is only what is going to make you sustainable for a longer time. Look at all these big brands. I don't want to name them today over here on this platform. But the guys who were hero back then now are struggling to survive. You would have heard tens and hundreds of startups who have already closed doors because they were not even profitable. They couldn't sustain their own growth. एक चीज I want to say this in Hindi, investor का पैसा business बढ़ाने के लिए चाहिए, business चलाने के लिए नहीं. You understand the difference? Business बढ़ाने, for a growth you need an investment which is understandable. But business चलाने के लिए यार आज मुझे salaries देना है, आज मुझे rent देना है, आज मुझे वो देना है, उसके लिए investment कभी raise नहीं करते. So guys, this is very two important learnings. I would say today, in today's scenario, they call it as a funding winter. We all have heard this term, right? Today, only those businesses are getting funded which are profitable. Investors are running towards them कि यार आप profitable हो, I want to invest in you. And these profitable businesses have the nice, time today to decide which investors they should pick money from. So if you guys are profitable, if you are making 1 lakh rupees profit, 5 lakh rupees profits, doesn't matter. But profitability will give you a long run. In that run, if you believe that now it is a time for you to scale pan-India, pan-global level, that is the time you should reach out to an investor, and every investor will be interested in funding you because they know the fact that irrespective whether I give him funds or not, this bugger is going to make his business $1 million business. That's very important.
That's an excellent answer, sir. So looking ahead, where do you see Skippy going 5 years or 10 years down the lane? This is a very interview kind of question. Where do you see yourself in 10 years down the lane? But then, yeah, 5 years or 10 years down the lane.
Look, I think the way we have positioned ourselves, first of all, guys, how many of you have seen Shark Tank India, or how many of you have seen us on that? Good, right? I had made a very clear statement even on television that we are not a health brand. I'm not going to be selling a popsicle 2-inch taller, or you will not have diabetes, or you will not have this and that, right? I have positioned myself very clearly that we are a fun brand. People want fun in life today. After COVID, hundreds of F&B brands started all talking about health, and unfortunately 95% of them are saying ourselves very clearly that we are a fun brand, and we've started to add to the fun story by adding more and more products. And we are an offline brand which makes us more sustainable. Today, all the D2C, online only, yo-yo kind of a brands are struggling because they are not profitable. D2C, it's very difficult to be profitable. We are offline brand, and the way we have grown today. So pre-Shark Tank, we were in about 700, 800 or 1,000 plus stores pre-Shark Tank. We are in 22,000 stores today. We are doing more than 7,000-8,000 pin codes through Zepto and Swiggy as well. So I think the structure is perfectly aligned. If you ask me what in the next 5 to 10 years, I cannot say what is happening in the next 10 years, but at least in the next 3 to 5 years, I think we will be a 1,000 crore plus brand in terms of our revenues, which is very much possible because our fundamentals are right, our team is aligned, everybody understands that the space that where we are playing is a very, very unique category that we are trying to develop. And 20 rupees कौन खर्च नहीं करता यार आज if today if somebody wants to have an ice popsicle, he will not think कि 20 रुपए के लिए मैं लोन लूँ या क्या करूँ. He'll bring out 20 rupees and have it instantly. So I know that the entire India, 1.4 billion people are my customers today. Uttar Pradesh, if I take Uttar Pradesh, 22 crore population, 2-3 European countries समा जाएंगे उसमें, right? So I am very confident. 4 to 5 years is the number we are aiming at, probably 1,000 crore.
Whoa.
Thank you.
So thank you for bringing up Shark Tank, sir, because that was my next question. So scoring investments from all the 5 sharks, it's obviously an incredible feat. So could you share your initial expectations from Shark Tank, and what do you think convinced all the 5 sharks to invest in you?
Firstly, my disclaimer, okay? Shark Tank is not scripted. Before you guys have that thought, because I know a lot of people would be thinking, yaar, ye to scripted hai, ye to dialogues diye gaye hai, falana, falana. Absolutely not. In fact, we were in the season 1, right? At least season 2 and season 3 guys know who the sharks are. In my case, I mean, we were there for 3 days. 1 day was quarantine because it was the COVID time during then. And then 2 days we had rehearsals, and the 3rd day we had the shoot. So we didn't even know who the sharks were. Somebody said, Anupam Mittal, and then I had to Google who is Anupam Mittal. I did not know, honestly. Until we got onto the set, we did not know who the sharks were. So the entire experience of being on Shark Tank was extraordinarily good because it was very nervousing because we were extremely nervous. Why? Because 2 days of our shoot, when the other startups went for pitching, none of them, like 8 startups went inside a day earlier, none of them got funded. Then on our day, 6 startups went to the pitch. None of them got funding, and we were like so nervous कि यार इतने बड़े startups है, कोई solar में है, कोई tech में है, कोई इसमें, हम तो साला popsicle बेच रहे, कौन ले देगा investment? That was the kind of attitude we had, and we were nervous that we probably won't get any funding. So we went onto the set, and Anuja and I clearly decided, यार, we'll just give it a best shot. And अगर टीवी पे आ जाते हैं तो imagine startup को इससे ज़्यादा क्या चाहिए? That 15 minutes on Sony prime time is worth 8 crore rupees, nothing more or nothing less. So how many of us can actually spend 8 crores? None of us, right? Probably as a startup. So we thought कि funding मिले ना मिले भैया टीवी पे आना चाहिए. That was the clear agenda. And when we went inside, our pitch was perfect. We were trying to hold on to our Hyderabadi Hindi. वरना उनको, नक्को, इनको बोले तो, it would have sounded very funny on television again. So we did our pitch, and we immediately saw that there was some excitement. And this is one thing which I always do. I bribe people with popsicles. So if you see, immediately after the pitch, I said, "Sharks, क्या आप हमारे ice popsicle try करना चाहेंगे?" And we passed on the ice popsicles to everyone. Skippy and Ashli started to enjoy, Namita enjoyed, and blah blah. And from every corner, from the sharks, we started to hear good things about the ice pops. Oh, I love it, and that gave us a confidence. I'm like, oh my God, thank God nobody shouted at us, say कि ये क्या कचरा बना दिया and all that. And after that, the important thing, which is an entrepreneur, we need to understand, not just on Shark Tank, but even for a venture capitalist pitch, or if you're pitching to investors will look for one question to corner you. They might talk about your GMV, they might talk about your acquisition cost, they might talk about your way to profitability, any question. They might even talk about your personal failure in the past, and they'll corner you. If you get cornered, that is where they'll keep banging you onto, and that will go downside for you in the entire pitch. You got to be prepared for your pitch thoroughly. If you, of course, our pitch on Shark Tank was given only 15 minutes to be aired, but we were there inside 45 minutes. There were startups which were there inside for 1.5 hours also. So there's a lot of grilling inside, and that would happen with any pitching. So you need to know your numbers in and out. You need to know your math. You need to know your business process perfectly. And I think we knew that perfectly, and that is why right from Ashneer to all the way to Aman and everybody loved it. And I thought that everybody is looking excited to invest. And I am a startup who is selling popsicles here. I need to do something extraordinary here. And I suddenly got an idea that why don't I become the first startup to have all the 5 sharks investing. And if you see my video, you'll see there that I am suggesting to Aman, aap sabhi kyun nahi aa jate? And Aman was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And that is how I got everybody on board, and it created the maximum buzz a startup could get across India.
That's an extremely smart way to do that. 5 sharks, 1 go, full marketing.
Absolutely. Free of cost.
Free of cost. And so, I have this doubt specifically. They give, 1 crore for 1% equity and something like that. And then do they actually give you a lot of time to go out, sit down, discuss, call up your people, do the math and then come back? Or
I hope you're not recording this. Just kidding. So look, it's basically that it's a win-win situation for both of the investors and the investee. When you are working hard in growing your brand, obviously the sharks would also want to associate with you, because they would also feel pride and pride that I have mentored this brand and they are growing XYZ. At the same time, we are happy that they are connecting with us, and we feel privileged about it as well. But sharks are very straightforward and clear that they will give time and efforts to those young startups who have just probably passed out of college, who needs a little more of hand-holding. And like I said, Anuja and I have come with 30 years of experience ourselves. So in a very casual, candid way, Anupam had told me, Ravi, हमने Skippy के बारे में सोचना छोड़ दिया है, because I think you guys are doing what doing good enough, and you know what you're doing. So rather we will spend our time with those guys who are needed more. But again, everybody is in touch with me. In fact, last week itself, I had a call with a few of the sharks. They keep checking with us whether we need any help or not. If not them directly, their team will get in touch with us. So it's a great exercise for us in terms of mentoring as well. There are a lot of times when you hit a roadblock, you're hitting a wall and you do not know whether I should do this or I should do that. And that is why probably I would reach out to any one of the sharks. I remember going down to Piyush's house, Ashneer's house, Anupam's office. I've been to Vinita's, Namita's office, everybody's places, right? Aman's office. Everybody has a different persona, different way of approaching a startup issue. And they give their strategic thoughts to us. And obviously as an entrepreneur, it is us who has to decide what idea to pick, or probably scrap up all of them and do what you want to do. But they've been pretty helpful, I would say.
Oh, so you...
I think that's a good PR that happened around it, but I don't think that's the case.
Okay. So, you had 5 sharks investing in you. So, did you face any pressure? Because, there are 5 huge sharks investing in you. And, did you face any pressure? And also, did they... was there any one piece of advice that any shark gave you that, that stood out for you?
Not really that I was any kind of a pressure. I'll be very honest, Sharks has been very kind to let us do our business the way we want to do it. Of course, they have complete right and obligation towards us to give us a good advice. Whether the advice fits into our business strategy or not, that is something that I need to decide. But they have been very, very supportive to us. And one of the good advices that Piyush has also had given me during one of my visits to him, this is something that even you guys should understand, that there are going to be competitions everywhere, okay? Probably tomorrow, Skippy will not be the only brand making ice popsicles. There are going to be 4 or 5 of them. There is a Google Pay, so there is a Phone Pay, then there is a Bharat Pay, then there is everything extra pays, right? There is not one single brand which is ruling India. So the only differentiator, and this is what Piyush told me, the differentiator between you and the other brand is going to be your team. The team which you are working on, how you receive a customer, how you deploy your marketing stunt, how you talk to your channel partners, and how you promote yourself, everything depends on a team. So focus on building a team, and obviously the success will become much more easier, because the other startups who get into the similar space may not have a good team. They may not reciprocate the same way that your team is doing. Every inch, if you see about Skippy, the way my marketing team has done branding, whether it is the box, it is the bike, EV bike that we have launched, or even the presentation across events, we focus a lot about how the brand is presented and positioned. So that is the outcome of a team. So I have always tried to be a very team-centric person, trying to give all the credits to my team, and I think that is a very important thing, statement, that the team will differentiate you from your competitors.
This is something that all of us should remember, guys, because as we grow up, we make startups, and then a team is extremely important. Have like 5 to 6 very close people with you. So, sir, given your involvement with startup investments, and I'm sure you have invested in a few companies, so what do you look for in the founder while you're investing? So what key qualities define, the founder?
I think first of all, I like to find a founder who's very grounded. There are a lot of founders who will say, I can do this also, I can do that also, I can do the entire world, I can do blah, blah, blah. No investor would want to have an unrealistic founder. Founders need to be very grounded and be very straightforward in the saying that what he or she can do, what he or she cannot do. It's always good to be very transparent on that fact. Secondly, there are a lot of startups who start at a particular service or a product, but then they, in the initial days itself, try to do too many things there. They will add this feature, they will add that product, they will add this and that. I don't think that is a good approach. First thing, get your basics right. Grow your building, your platform or your business to X level. And then once you start making good revenue, you become a little sustainable, then you try to add more features onto it. So I try to talk to a lot of founders to tell them and guide them that, don't jump into too many things on day one. I mean, when I launched Ice Popsicles, I did not launch the corn sticks and the cream roll and blah, blah, blah all together. First, we took at least 2 years of time to get stabilized with the Ice Popsicle business. Now we have started to add other products, right? So that is the right way to go. So I look at founders who are pretty grounded. Second, people who are not trying to do too many things, because too many things will spoil the entire broth itself. I would rather want you guys to focus on few good things or 1 or 2 things only, build a business and then add on top of that. And a founder who has a little bit of either education background or an experience in the same domain. Like I said, tomorrow if I go and start a fintech company, no investor will fund me because they know I know zero about fintech, right? But if I again start up a second venture in F&B space, I'm sure everybody will come and invest into me. So that domain expertise or education background. If you're an engineer and if you want to start a tech platform, I'm sure a lot of investors would be interested to fund you guys. But like I said, if you're completely off the domain, it might be hard for me to believe that you can actually survive in that space. So these 3 trends is basically what I see. And whether you're making profit immediately doesn't matter. I understand that sometimes startups take a longer time to make profit, but at least you should have a clear clarity that paisa aana kahan se, right? If you tell me, nahi sir, aap paise do do, paise nahi aane wale, nobody gives you money then. That's it.
So one last question before I end.
Yeah.
So if you were given a time machine and you were asked to go back to your 21-year-old self, what advice will you give to your own 21-year-old self?
Wow. I hope one of you guys are building that time machine. Look, I've made a lot of mistakes in my past. I wish as a young guy, I wouldn't have made that mistakes. I don't know. Like I was telling you, in my father's business, I had the audacity to think that I was building or growing his business, but rather it was his business who was supporting my growth. After that, what happened, and I just want to cover this as a part of my failure story, because every entrepreneur has a failure story. After I came out of my father's business, I started a tech business. So this is a very good example because of what all I have said in the last few minutes. I have no background in technology, okay? I started a platform called Dial Me Guru, which was on a very similar base of Just Dial, which it is today. People used to call us up or go to our website, get the information, and my merchants would give me commissions on that. So I started that portal, again, of course, with the audacity to think that I know everything, and built on this and scaled up like mad. Matlab, I would say that in the start, 0 day to 100th day, I went from 0 employees to 300 employees straight away. And bang, 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 it went on. And unfortunately, the fundamentals were not right, and my business came crashing down. 1.3 crores gone in thin air. All the debt, all my father's money that I had taken up came onto my neck. And it turned out to be such a painful journey for me that my pride, my ego, my attitude, everything went down the drain. And I feel regretted today that I should have been a little more stable, matured enough to understand how to run a business. So I think if I had a chance to go back, I would correct those mistakes, learn a little more of myself before actually jumping down and expanding businesses too fast. And after that, that is why I took a break, went down to Australia for 7 years, worked for good employees there, learned a lot of skills, came back and then started to deploy it in Skippy today. So there are a lot of these mistakes which I regret all the time, but everybody should understand every entrepreneur is most likely to make mistakes. I'm not saying everybody will and must make mistakes, but most likely you guys are going to make mistakes. It is important that, and when you make these mistakes, Reddy garu abbai chudu emaitundi, what is he doing? Sorry about my Telugu. But Gupta ji ka ladka dekho kya kar raha hai, atan ki chudandi. All that things will come in. Even your building's watchman will also give you good lesson of how to do business. That is how it is. So failures will come in our life. We need to continue just passing, understand that it's a pass of life, and then build ourselves to wait until we are actually successful. Yeah.
Well, that was an exciting session. A huge round of applause, guys.
Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.
Welcome viewers to My Startup TV. I'm majorsunilshetty. We are here at the India Joy Gaming Festival, which is a 5-day event. And with me is Rahul Saikia, who's the founder of One Up Academy. Let's find out what One Up Academy is all about. It is into edutech space. Hey Rahul, welcome
Hello.
to the show.
Nice to win.
So tell us, what is One Up Academy all about?
So One Up Academy in one line is an online edtech platform where we help people get the skills in game design and development, and also help land jobs in the game industry. As you can see, the current size of the market in India for gaming is 2.8 billion, right, dollars, and it's expected to grow by 5 billion in the next 5-6 years. So there's a huge opportunities right now for people to join this industry, but that's where the problem comes, because not everyone is aware of this industry. Not everyone knows about this industry, that there's a possible career to be made. And that's where we come in. We basically help people to learn those skills, connect with industry professionals, and also get a job in the game industry.
So can you spell out, help our viewers understand where are the opportunities when it comes to jobs?
Yes, there's multiple domains where a person can go for, right? So it will completely depend his interest. So if that person is interested in games in general, he plays a lot of games and he knows about the games, right? He plays a lot of games, he knows about the games, so he can be a game designer. Obviously, he needs the skills to how to create a game. But if the person is someone who's more into art, right? He'll like to create drawings, so he can go for an artist. So there are multiple domains. There's designers, there's developers, who's mostly programmers. There's artists, there's animators. So you can think of there's over 10-15 career opportunities someone can go for. And also that pays really well, because again, the same thing comes. There's so many game companies in India where they don't find good talents. So whoever is skilled and has a good talent, they'll definitely hire them for a good package, right? And what we are trying to do is make people understand that there's a career out there, and it's very hard to do, because in India you see you'll not find a lot of game companies in different cities, right? You'll find game companies in major cities, like you'll find in Bangalore, you'll find in Hyderabad, you'll find in Mumbai maybe. But if you go to like other cities, like tier 2 cities, you won't find a lot of game companies there, and it's very hard to convince a parent that there's an opportunity and you should let your children go for this career, right? Because this orthodox things comes in, because everyone believes in like, okay, like if he takes X course or X subject and he can get Y job, right? But if they don't know that Y job only, it's very hard for them to make the decision.
So as One Up Academy, at what stage are you? Have you already designed courses? Are you offering these courses, or are you still at the idea stage?
We have started 1.5 years ago, and till now we had run 2 batches. Both the batches are successful. We have small batches for 5 students, and we have already helped them get job in the game industry. We have created the curriculum with the help of industry professionals. So our way of creating a course is a different approach. We first understand the requirement of the industry and then we create the course. So basically we provide cohort-based learning where we teach in batches, and it is taught by industry professionals, someone who has the skills and knowledge. So that person works part-time in a company and he basically teaches whatever he learned so far with the help of the curriculum.
So what are the course fee? Because that's one of the major factors, right?
Yes, so basically the fee is almost 60,000 for 6 months program, where we provide live online courses that has a good interactions, and also we help them land a job in the game industry. So basically connect with people, connect with companies. So we also help them how to grow themselves, not only in the skills side, but also like how you can be socially active, approach the game companies, approach founders for your job. So those skills basically also required for someone who wants to land a job in the game industry. So we provide both the skills so that someone who's like in 0 right now, who doesn't have an industry knowledge and no skills, he can go to a 10 in over 6 months of time.
Are there any advanced courses as well that you do or after you've done a basic course?
So we have one course right now, that's our flagship program. It's called Game Design Foundation. So that's a course that is for 6 months, and where we teach all the 5 elements of game design that we have basically understood the requirement from the industry. So it consists of level design, system design, economy design, narrative design, UI UX design. So basically we cover all the type of game design principles. The 6 months design.
Well, what's the next step for you? I mean, in terms of as a company.
Yes, so my next step is to build a micro learning platform. So that was initially idea of one of Academy. Cohort is fine, but there are a lot of people in India who cannot afford the that particular fee, right? So I want to provide them with the education that is also reliable, that is something that they can easily buy, right? They can easily get and acquire the skills, because that is the entry barrier that I have. Like if they want to learn game design, either they have to go to a good college or they have to rely on free sources on internet, which is not that much profitable for them, right? So we are coming into the middle section. So we are providing some solutions where they will have a good education and they will acquire the skills, but in an affordable rate. They can easily get.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you for being on the show.
Nice.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to MyStartup TV.
First of all, STPI has been a very close friend of the multimedia and AVGC XR industry, especially in Hyderabad. In the year 2020,